because I had attorneys that said you should file bankruptcy, you need to get out from underneath these loans, you need to do this, you need to do that. A month later, we got a call from Shark Tank. And what should entrepreneurs do? They have to get off their fannies. They have to get out from behind their desk, and they have to visit their properties, and they have to be aware of what's happening, and they have to be involved in every battle. And too many people, because of COVID, think that they can work from home. And there's a lot of things that can't be done from home.
Good morning. Welcome to Season 3 of the Spotlight Podcast. My name is Courtney Butler, and I am the Chamber Manager for the Greater Kokomo Alliance.
And I am Caitlin Sheets. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the Alliance. And today we have Brenda Blondie Kaufman of Blondies Cookies. And we will just give you a moment to introduce yourself. And maybe for those who don't know of Blondies Cookies, maybe a little bit of background, and then we'll just kind of get into it.
Sounds good. Well, Blondies Cookies is a 41-year-old family-owned and operated business. Started here in Kokomo, Indiana, and we've expanded throughout the 41 years through Indiana, and we also expanded into Florida. For 10 years, we had stores in the Tampa and Sarasota area as well. So our retail stores are our primary business, and that's what we started with. Several years ago, it became evident to us that we needed to expand our line. So we created a fundraising division. We created obviously our mail order division. We ship all over the country, sometimes outside the country, but mostly in the country. Cool. Our 3 top mail order states, oddly enough, with the exclusion of Indiana, are Florida, Texas, and California. So that's really interesting. Prior to our airing on Shark Tank, we would not probably have shipped west of the Mississippi. So it's kind of exciting for us that that's in our top 3. We make and bake fresh cookies every day. We donate the leftovers to local charities. In Kokomo, our first charity, I think I was mentioning this to you earlier, was Bonavista. Mm-hmm. They're still a charity that we donate to today, but they were our very first charity, and they're very near and dear to my heart. We also have a wholesale division, and we also have our delivery division, which came out of dealing with all of the problems of COVID and trying to keep cookies in people's hands when shopping malls all over the country were shut down like everything else. And because of the size of a shopping mall, they were some of the last places retail-wise to reopen. And then we also just recently purchased a new headquarters in Greentown where we're home officed, and it has an event center, a little event room where we can do parties for birthdays and weddings and create memories. We feel like as a family, our biggest asset has been generating family memories for years. When I have people stop me in other states or on an airplane and say, "Oh my gosh, we always have Blondie's Cookies at our Christmas party or at our son's birthday, and he's now 33. Of course, that makes me feel old.
Sure.
But it also makes me realize that our product has played an integral part of people's joy and creating memories in their life, and I'm really fond of that.
Definitely.
Hi, this is Tracy from Community First Bank, Indiana's Treasury Management Team. We hope you've been enjoying the episode so far. We know running a business means wearing a lot of hats, so we wanted to pause for just a second and ask a question you may not have revisited lately, but may be glad you asked. How can I reduce what I am paying in credit card processing fees? The first step is understanding your current effective rate and overall processing costs. So reviewing your full statement really matters. From there, it is a best practice to review your card processor relationship at least once a year or any time your business changes. As your business grows, it is important to work with a processor that can offer customized solutions that will fit your needs at every stage. At Community First, we work closely with our local processing partners to ensure our business clients have reliable solutions that support how they operate today. Thanks for letting us jump in and be a part of the conversation. If you ever want to chat or need help thinking through options, our team is here. Community First Bank of Indiana is a member of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. All right, we will let you get back to the main interview.
Is there a moment that you look back and think, wow, this went from a small, I know you're still family owned, but a small shop type of operation to this got really big, and what do we do?
Well, I think like everything, there's cycles. There's business cycles, and it all depends on the economic cycle too. In 41 years, we have probably seen 5 real economic cycles of going up and down. And from the beginning, coming out of college, I opened the first store when I was a senior in college. So I think being very naive played a very big part in not being afraid to take those leaps and bounds that entrepreneurs need to take.
Right.
When you're naive and when you also think you're young and invincible, you just fight the good fight every day. And I think that's what probably drove me, along with my father was killed when I was 15 years old, and he was probably my best cookie eater. And so for therapy during college, my mom would send me packages of chocolate chips and flour and sugar and things that she knew I couldn't afford. And I would bake cookies every weekend and sell to my husband's fraternity house. He went to an all-male college at the time, so I had all-male clients who were very hungry by midnight after a fraternity party. And that's how I purchased groceries on Sundays all through college, was selling it. So I think just not knowing the obstacles sometimes is good. And then when you hit those obstacles, really focusing on how to get through the obstacles. I am one of those personalities that know and quit is not in my makeup. Don't know if that's good or bad necessarily, but right before Shark Tank, Blondies did a large expansion down to Florida. And we thought it was going to be wonderful because the malls are big and nice and looks like lots of people. And we really spent a lot of money and went out on a limb to find out that in Florida, unless it's raining, people don't go to a shopping mall.
Oh, yeah.
And so operating those stores was very difficult, and was probably next to 9/11 was probably our second worst experience we had had, with having to really tighten our belt and become better at everything we do. And so, facing each obstacle with the understanding that you are not going to quit, you're not going to give up, and that no matter what your advisors tell you, you're going to trust in God and figure out a way to get through it. Because I had attorneys that said, you should file bankruptcy, you need to get out from underneath these loans, you need to do this, you need to do that. And I remember sitting down at the kitchen table one morning with my husband, who had left Delphi Electronics as an engineer of 18 and a half years to come work for Blondies as our CFO. And he was quite distraught because a CFO's job is to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any money to pay the bills. And I remember looking at him and saying, God did not put us in this position to fail. We will get through somehow. And I know this is odd, and a lot of people might think, wow, that's crazy. But about a month later, we got a call from Shark Tank. After being in business for 17 years, we got a call from Shark Tank. No, actually, it was longer than that. And the first 3 calls, I didn't take the calls. I thought they were fake. finally, my office manager at the time said, no, it's really the producer from ABC. You really do want to talk to them. I'm like, okay. So we had a 45-minute conversation, and he, at the end, said, I would really like you to go to the next step. Me not knowing anything about TV or Hollywood or how any of that works, I said, okay. And
Why
so,
not?
why not? Why not? So we did a demo tape, and a local DJ helped me put a demo tape together. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of laughing on that one, and sent it off and filled out all the contract, which was about 4 inches thick. And we actually didn't think we would ever hear anything back. 30,000 people tried out for our season.
Oh my goodness.
86 of us were flown to LA, and 54 of us were picked to go on the show. So about 5 months later, I got a call at 8 p.m. at night while I was in the Kroger, standing in front of the bananas. I can remember it like it was yesterday. Wow. And the gentleman on the other end of the line said, hi, this is so-and-so. I am the head producer of Mark Burnett Productions and ABC Productions of Shark Tank, and I have the great honor of letting you know you have been chosen to come to LA and be on the tank.
Wow.
And I said, excuse me just a minute, I'm in the middle of Kroger's buying bananas. I need to regroup here. So that was a difficult drive, even though Kroger's in my house is only about 4 miles apart. I was really struggling getting home that day, but and he said, we'll call you in 2 days and we'll give you all your information. And so that's how that happened. We went out to LA to Sony Studios, and the very first day, none of us realized that we had to re-audition, or that we had to audition. We didn't know that there were 86 people chosen and only 54 would go on the show. So we went into this very large room that was literally all white with chairs all lined up. And the chairs were in pecking order of Disney and ABC first, Mark Burnett second, FinMax Productions third, and the rest of the producers at the back. So it was quite interesting. And there were 2 people on the side of the chairs with stopwatches. And they said, you'll give your pitch, and we need it to be under 3 minutes. And we were like, oh, great, because mine was 3.5 minutes. That's what they studied with me. They had sent me producers ahead of time, for several months ahead of time, that studied actually doing our pitch.
Right.
And that was quite interesting in itself. I can remember driving on 75 in Florida and having to pull over to give the pitch, because they would call me at all hours of the day and night and say, are you ready? Can you give your pitch? And
So
I'm
you
like,
just
sure.
have to be ready whenever they call.
You have to be ready whenever they call. Yes. So that was interesting. So I thought to myself, well, great. We've done all this. We're out here, and now my pitch is 3.5 minutes, so I'm going home. And lo and behold, on top of that, they announced the first person to give the pitch, and out of everyone, they picked me to go first. It's like, are you for real? Why?
I would have a heart attack.
I know, right? And so I went up and got ready to do the pitch, and they said, go, and the 2 guys with the stopwatches click, and you have to do what you do. And I got done, and the 2 guys with the stopwatches clicked again, and then yelled out 3 minutes and 33 seconds. And I thought, yeah, I'm going home.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going home. And the head producer came up and said, is this what you're wearing? And I thought, well, yeah, that's what I'm wearing. It's on my body, but that's a interesting question. And he said, that'll be fine. And he said, we'll see you tomorrow morning. And I just kind of didn't know what to do. So the next morning, I was there and had my own dressing room with my name on it and 3 people taking care of my hair and makeup. So it was kind of a neat experience. I got to be a little miniature star without doing anything, really, truly, other than baking cookies, which is what we love to do.
Yeah, it's the
So
dream.
it's the dream. It's the dream. So so we went on the tank and met all the people and just had a wonderful experience, and we did not take a deal, which some people were very upset about. I would get letters and calls. In the first 48 hours, I had 3 marriage proposals. I had over 1,200 emails, which at that time, emails, were not really a thing to that degree. So 1,200 emails was a lot. The phones were ringing off the hook. I just didn't understand what 11 million national viewers meant. And at that time, that's what they had was 11 million national viewers. And the neat thing, out of the 54 people that were chosen for our season, they picked one for each episode to do what they called a hometown package. And Blondies was picked to be the hometown package. So 3 months after we shot in LA, they sent the entire crew to Kokomo, Indiana, which was really fun. Fun for Kokomo, fun for us, fun for our employees. And, again, just a great experience. And I can't say enough about Shark Tank and all the sharks and everybody who does their job. And even though it was far away for us and seemed like nobody knew us, we got off the plane and got into the car that they had sent for us. And one of the young ladies in the car said, "I'm from Muncie, Indiana. I grew up on Blondies Cookies." And, from that moment on, I was okay. I was good. I was good. I knew that I was around people that liked us. So
Wow.
a lot of calmness.
So you've talked a lot about the 41 years, and
Yeah.
you're saying you're not doing nothing, but I think that you're doing a whole lot. And I'm sure that that's a true testament to how you've gotten to where you are, and you're able to ship across the world, really. How have things changed within the market in the last 41 years? I mean, I'm sure that about halfway mark was when you were on Shark Tank, so that probably changed things a lot for you. But you talked about COVID. Is there any other challenges that you went through that you can think of?
9/11 was a very big challenge. I don't think our country had ever seen anything like that. And literally within, a few hours, kind of like COVID, the entire country shut down. Every mall was closed because they thought malls were going to be the next target. And that caused an economic cycle that I don't think a lot of people really understood how bad it was. The housing bubble bust. I mean, people were upside down on mortgages. I think that was a very, very difficult time. And that was 10, 12, 13 years before the tank. And so we had experienced that and knew we got through that and knew what it took to get through that. So by the time we expanded and realized that we were underwater again, we knew a little bit more about what to do. I think, though, in our business, one of the hardest things for me as a small town CEO is negotiating my real estate deals. No one in my area was able to do commercial real estate deals. So that was really difficult. And it wasn't until the tank aired that we found a national real estate broker who actually helped us negotiating. We work with the largest owners, the largest shopping mall owners in the country. Those people own a very large portion of the country's real estate. And so we really didn't have any leverage being our size. And that was very difficult to understand that we didn't have any leverage. And so I think that was very difficult as well. Obviously, staffing over the years and things of that nature are always difficult, but I think staffing, whether employment is up or down, all comes back to the environment that we have at the stores to offer people. And we try to make sure that our stores are always kept very updated. All the equipment is working well. We don't want anyone coming to work and, getting electrocuted by an oven that doesn't work well or something like that. And we heard stories of that, of people that we hired. So we have managers that have been with us for 35 to 40 years in some of our stores. And so I think the next hard step for us is probably going to be turning those managers over to let them retire and to bring in new staffing to take their positions, because you get very very at ease and set in a comfort zone when you have people around you that care about the store and the product and the well-being of the company as much as you do. And that's a generational thing that I'm not sure that I'm seeing. I hope that I see that, but there's definitely been changes in the labor market in the last 15 years too. So there's been a lot of ups and downs. I could talk about a lot of things that have been true battles.
What sorry, what made you realize, we're in shopping malls and we have a strong presence here? Was it the post 9/11 economy that made you realize I have to diversify and add more products and income streams, or what did that look like?
It really did start there, because when your shopping malls shut down and there's no income stream coming in, but your bills don't stop,
Right.
you realize that one avenue can't be your only survival. So it started there, but I wouldn't say the success of all those divisions became prominent until Shark Tank.
Okay.
The national market definitely made a difference. We have clients all over the country, and we wouldn't have those clients from Kokomo, Indiana, or even Indianapolis or Fort Wayne or South Bend, where we have regional stores. We wouldn't have that presence had we not had that opportunity. So just last month, May, we have a large client out of Dallas, Texas, that ships over 700 boxes every month of cookies to his clients in all of Texas and all of Oklahoma. That customer definitely would not have made it on my doorstep if they hadn't seen Shark Tank and hadn't known the product, and been exposed to the product through events that we were privileged to attend because of those situations, like Shark Tank. I mean, we did the Super Bowl VIP party when it was here in Indiana. That was a party of exclusive 10,000 people who are, the players' families, the coaches' families, the wives, the kids, the media. We were fortunate enough years ago to have a wonderful client, Reebok, who hired us to do all of their gifting for all their sports teams. That at the time included the NFL, the NBA,
That's
the
amazing.
MLS, and the MMA. And again, we were exposed to people that would have never had our product before. And one of your folks asked me earlier today when we arrived about competition. And we really didn't have a lot of competition in shopping malls until about 2015, give or take. There might have been moms and pops all over the country, but not other regional or national operators until then. And so they have come on the scene, and we have found that to be a good thing for us, because people in a small town especially don't know they have something good unless they've tried something better somewhere. And if they don't get out and don't travel and don't experience something better, they may think that what they have is either really great or really not good or average. Their opinion is very skewed based on what they've been exposed to. And so we like the exposure of the competition to our customers, because then they can actually compare us side by side and say, oh, wow, we want to go back to Blondies. They make it from scratch. It's fresh, and and they've got several varieties, and it's not a, dry product, or it's not stale. It's, all of those things. And so for us, it's fun to see the competition and to realize that in most cases, that we are ahead of the competition. And that's our goal every day, is to stay ahead of the competition by not worrying about them, worrying about us, and doing what's right for our customer, creating the best product we can possibly make every day. And we really don't look back. We don't look over our shoulder and worry. It's always forward.
So do you think that that is the reason why you've kept employees for 35 years? Because I think that's pretty impressive for especially this workforce, and talking about bringing in new generations. Do you think that is there anything in particular that you think of when you're working with your employees and why you've had that longevity?
Yes, I think loyalty and the sense of family is extremely important. And when somebody works hard every day for you and your family, and they understand that you're working hard for them and their family, I think it becomes evident very quickly that it's a community. And, I think one of the things that the whole country is missing now, and we need to get back to, is the understanding that community is what makes everything work. And years ago, people used to be concerned about what their neighbors thought, or what somebody else thought, or what somebody was or wasn't doing. And when people didn't do their jobs, they were called out. And now we live in a society where litigation has made it so difficult to call someone out who is not productive. And those productive people and the non-productive people, in my opinion, have really pulled down the highly productive people. So it used to be 80% of all the people do all the work, 20%, or 20% do all the work, 80% do very little. I think that's more like 95 and 5 now.
Yeah.
And I think it needs to go back to, 80 to 20 or 75 to 25, so that people have a purpose. So I think having a purpose, I think my staff from the very get-go understood that our purpose is very simple. We have a saying at Blondies, it's all about the cookie. Every decision that we make, whether it's quality, whether it's cost control, whether it's presentation, whether it's retail, whether it's service, all of those decisions are based on, did it have a positive effect on the cookie? If it doesn't have a positive effect on the cookie, we don't implement it. And so they know that as soon as I walk into their stores, whether I've seen them last week or I haven't seen them for 6 months as managers, they know that the first question is going to be, what about the cookie? Tell me how this affects the cookie. And they have to be ready to answer that question, because they know I don't want to hear much of anything if we're not talking about the cookie all the time. So for me, it's always about the cookie. Is it good for the cookie?
On the podcast with guests we've had previously, and now we talk a lot about leadership and setting the tone. And you've kind of started to hint on that, but how do you even learn about leadership? It seems like over 41 years you've figured it out really well and you've figured out business, but where does that begin? I'm sure you never imagined in college when you were baking cookies that this is what it would become.
I actually did.
That's amazing.
I actually had a plan very early. I learned leadership from my parents. I learned commitment, sacrifice, grit, persistence, all from my parents. At a very young age, I was a competitive swimmer. I was also a competitive dancer, ballerina. I was studying to be a prima ballerina. You can see my height is very little. I was very small. Um, and I was scheduled to go study with the Royal Canadian Ballet 2 weeks after my dad was killed. He was killed 2 weeks before I left.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it was a very, very difficult, life-changing experience at 15. I had studied the year before in Chicago with the Ellis Dubélé School of Ballet, and I was on my way to Canada to knock their socks off. And I thought my whole goal in life was to be a prima ballerina, which takes a lot of dedication, a lot of practice. I danced anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a day, every day, had blisters on every foot, every toe, every part of every foot, spent all of my bean field weeding earnings. We were farmers. We are farmers. So I weeded bean fields and corn fields. And I spent every penny I made buying new Capezio point shoes. And I thought that was my destiny. But God had a different plan. And luckily, I had learned how to stay focused at a very, very young age.
Yeah.
And understood that leadership from a dad who was a coach, who coached football and coached swimming, and I saw that he was good, hard, relentless, and his guys loved him. And he handled us the same way, good, hard, relentless. Hard wouldn't be a good word. He wasn't hard with us girls. Good, somewhat of a disciplinarian, but not much. But we knew he meant business, and he noticed everything. I think I learned that a good leader, a good entrepreneur, is someone who notices every surrounding of every environment that they're in,
Mm-hmm.
and looks at each surrounding situation of how they're going to utilize that surrounding to better their own environment and whatever it is they're working on. And I think that's a gift that I praise the Lord every day for giving me, along with a very high level of energy, which all my managers will tell you, yeah, she's very energetic.
I would say passionate.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it is passion.
You're excited.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sure. Passion and sugar at work. And Diet Coke
Yeah.
keeps us running. But yeah, I just think I was very fortunate that I had parents that taught me the basic skills of life and understood that their goal was to raise me and teach me to be a productive member of society. And I'm always preaching that to my niece, my daughter-in-law, that your goals are to help your children become productive members of society.
Mm-hmm.
You can love them relentlessly, and you should, and you can be their friend later, but your goal is to definitely make sure they come home from the battle.
Yeah.
My dad was really clear about that. You have to be the best at what you're doing because you've got to get out of the trench and come home from the battle. So
I lost my dad also at a young age. I was 18. And thank you. And I think that much like you, that was a turning point in my life as well. And I don't think that I realized it at the time. I do years later now. But I think I was actually just talking to my mom the other day, and there are just lessons that my dad taught me that I look back now that I have my own 2 children, and I say, man, he was really ahead of his time in knowing what I would need. And I think that you bring up a good point. It seems like a lot of workforce or like cultural problems that affect the economy, they all go back to home. You know, the way that you raise your kids, you're teaching them not only to be productive members of society, but to be independent without you.
absolutely.
And it's just, I mean, I think that that's also when you talk about your managers that have been with you for 40 years, you've raised them up in business now to manage these stores without you. Has it been hard to let go of some of the control?
Oh, for sure.
I
For
would
sure.
imagine.
They're just like a child. I mean, it's like going through a graduation, which we're in graduation season
Yeah.
right now, and wedding season, and it's not a lot different than that. I mean, you know, it is hard to let go, but at the same time, I think letting go for them is the clearest form of understanding that they are trusted.
Yeah.
And I think trust is a big issue. And I'm not saying that my people are perfect, because none of us are, obviously. They slide, they fall. But I also think that something I learned very young was grace. We have to have grace.
Definitely.
And we have to make each episode or each situation that occurs a learning experience for all the individuals involved, so that grace is very prevalent. And so I think that's very important as well. I have a very strong trust in knowing that one of your questions was, what do you think entrepreneurs deal with, or some of the challenges of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. I think understanding that you are on your own, and that your destiny is yours. And yes, it still takes a village. I don't mean that it doesn't, but at the same time, you are your strength, and you have God as your main strength. And I think everybody has kind of lost sight of the fact that that God knew every hair on our head when He created us, and He created us for a purpose, and He has a plan. And I think we all have to relax and trust God's plan for us, and remember that the talents that He gave us for a reason. He gave us to accomplish something within that line of talents.
Yeah.
I thank Him every night for the talents that I have, because I know for a lot of people doing what I do, I think some of the hardest things were knowing that my family was always going to be there when I traveled. When I opened the Florida stores, my son in particular was only a freshman in high school. And as a mom, I was gone to Florida a lot. And knowing that I would come home and my family would be there and be functioning and loving, and that you could step right back in to the situation, and knowing that that strength was not an issue on either side,
Yeah.
was something that I think a lot of people take for granted. They don't think about walking out the door and leaving for 6 weeks and how that affects the other side of the family. So there just has to be an awful lot of trust and faith, and that's where the strength has to come from.
It's difficult, I've
It is.
imagined.
It is.
Is it your personality or a skill that you've developed over time to like ride the wave? Because I honestly, I'm a high anxiety person. I don't have very much ride the wave within me. You seem like you do, but is it something you've developed?
I'm not a high anxiety person unless you're putting me on an airplane.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm not flying it, so apparently I don't control it. So apparently it has a little bit to do with control. But in general, I'm not a high anxiety person. But as I said earlier, I am very detailed. I notice every detail, and I like every detail to be in place. Sometimes, that can annoy people. My husband definitely would say, I hate it that you can remember all this stuff. I hate it that, sometimes he just is like, oh, whatever. But I don't know. I guess it is a personality, but a lot of it is learned too. Speaking of my husband, he was an electrical engineer. We're very opposite, but both very detail oriented, but his is very different. And I learned skills from him being married in college. I mean, he had a work ethic like no other when it came to studying, and organization, and all the things that made his day-to-day hours manageable. He, at 62, accomplishes more than most people do at 20. And so I think I learned a lot of that from him. And then just the grit and tenacity and energy and, ability to just practice, practice, practice till perfect, 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 I guess is my personality. So I think our marriage of 44 years this August.
Congrats.
Thank you. I think that has played a big part. And again, I think that's divine intervention, because I had no intention of being married at 19. If you'd asked me at 18 if that was going to happen, I would have told you were nuts. Absolutely nuts. I was, going to go conquer the world. And when true love hits, it just hits, and there you are. So I think the partnership and learning that your partner has a lot to offer is very important. So many people don't want to listen to their partners.
Right.
They don't want to take advice from their partners. And I can remember years ago even telling my husband, now, if I'm out of line, I need you to grab my arm and tell me you're out of line.
Yeah.
And, I think that's really important, and vice versa.
Because you have to trust that he has your best interest at heart. He's your life partner.
Correct. And that's kind of then how we feel about our managers and our employees. We kind of have that same projection. It's not an everyday thing. You don't live with them, but it's kind of the same thing. And then we just focus on the cookie as our one primary goal, so that everybody has that primary goal to always focus on, to always make a decision on.
So when you diversified, and
Yes.
I'm meaning after Shark Tank, when you did fundraisers and all the other product lines, did you have a thought where you thought, should we add more products, like as in, cookies or things like that? Or did you say,
Very good
nope,
question.
I know that we have to go to other streams of income, but keep the cookie?
Yes. And that's a very good question, because a lot of people out there are constantly, when they go through a period of a down cycle of low sales, they're constantly, oh, we need to add muffins. Oh, we need to add sandwiches. We need to add, baked potatoes. We need to add all these things. There was a store that I did right before 9/11 where we opened it, and after being in that market in Terre Haute, Indiana, we changed the store to what was called Blondies Cookies Cafe. And I did add all of those things, only to discover after 2 years that nobody was coming there for that. They were coming for the cookie. And the focus of the other products were taking my employees' time and talents away from the cookies. So luckily we had only done it in a pilot store. Luckily we were able to turn it around pretty quickly. And so I always tell people, when they ask for my advice today, as a 62-year-old CEO who's done this for 41 years, I always say, do one thing and do it right. Be the best. Don't be a jack of all trades. Be a master of one.
Wow.
So we're a master of cookies, and that's really how we view it.
I think that if there were any takeaway from this, it would be that we have conversations. I have conversations with business owners all the time. We do a drive business pitch competition, a very scaled down version of Shark Tank,
Yes.
It's definitely hard to get people to see, like, you are the master of this thing. Don't water it down, with adding other offerings and things.
Well, and when people add other offerings, they lose sight of the raw cost of this product or this product. And so at the end of the day, or at the end of the year, they're like, well, my sales went up 25%, but my profits went down 35%. What did I do wrong? All of that. All of that. Because you forgot how much those other items cost. So your pricing in your market wasn't correct. And I think that's important. We've raised our prices 3 times since COVID. All 3 times have been under 5%. And if you look around, That is not the case with restauranting or retail in general.
Yeah.
Prices have gone up a lot more than 5% in 3 different times since pretty much 2020. We'll call it 2020. And the reason for that is because we're relentless. Every quarter, my warehouse producer puts on my desk the prices of every item that we purchase, and I know how it affects every cookie that we sell. For example, about a year ago, I had to pull plain brownies off the market out of my stores because I needed to charge $7 for a brownie and I would not do it.
Wow.
And it's because chocolate is very scarce, and good chocolate, went from $180 a case of 50-pound case to $550.
Wow.
Those are huge increases. Same situation happened with a lot of diners with eggs. I mean, the smart diners said, we're going to have to charge you a 25% or a 25-cent egg increase on just your eggs. They didn't raise everything else. The not veteran businesses would have just put in a price increase across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So I think your consumer, your customer has to trust you. And they have to know that, that wonderful story in the Bible about being good stewards.
Mm-hmm.
That's our job. I just had to explain to a fire inspector. We had our first fire in a store. We've never had a fire in 41 years.
Wow.
Most people say, "Oh, your oven?" No, it was a DoorDash tablet.
Are you kidding?
I wish I was.
Oh my.
Wish I was. Caught the whole back room on fire in Bloomington, Indiana. And then it was exasperated by the mall not being able to figure out how to shut off the sprinkler heads. So the sprinkler heads went off for 45 minutes, spewing gallons and gallons and gallons of water all over the store. That was 100% unnecessary, but they don't deal with fires very often either. And so anyway, we've obviously been going through an insurance claim on this situation, and we had to wait for the DoorDash attorneys and the Samsung attorneys and the battery maker and all those people to show up at our store before we could even start mitigation of cleaning up and redoing to reopen. And the contracting company that's doing the mitigation, I went through their list with them last week and said, this didn't get done, this didn't get done, this didn't get done. And one of the things was the top of the walk-in cooler wasn't cleaned, and it was on their list. And he said, "How did you know the top of your walk-in cooler wasn't clean?" And I said, "Because this 62-year-old CEO was on top of the walk-in cooler last week to inspect it." And he laughed, and he literally said, "We don't have people involved. I've never worked with anybody that's been involved." So going back to a question you had earlier, what does it take and what should entrepreneurs do? They have to get off their fannies. They have to get out from behind their desk, and they have to visit their properties, and they have to be aware of what's happening, and they have to be involved in every battle. And too many people, because of COVID, think that they can work from home. And there's a lot of things that can't be done from home. And even the ones that can be done from home, are they really being done that well today? Don't know.
Man.
So I think being very
true.
active and being very participatory. And I think that goes back to our staff too. I think that if I'm not better at the job than everyone that works for us, we've got an issue. And they all know that maybe I haven't scooped a cookie for 4 months, but they know I can come in and scoop it as fast or faster than they did. And it's not touting my own horn. It's saying that in those early years, I did everything 24/7 and still do quite a bit. Not as much, obviously, as I did, because I trust my people to do stuff. But at the same token, you can't delegate something that you're not good at. And I see that a lot. I don't know where it was. We were talking about my parents, and one of the things that they made sure I understood growing up was that I was very special to them,
Mm-hmm.
but to the world, I hadn't earned any specialty or privilege. I was special to them. So when I went out into the world, I had to earn it. I had to earn trust. I had to earn respect. I had to earn those things and not have an expectation that I was special. They made clear that I wasn't special, that we're all the same. No one's special. But to mom and dad, you're very, very, very special. And I think I knew that separation pretty well from the beginning, from the get-go. And I think that people are very confused about that today.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think the way that you have built this from the ground up is remarkable. And I truly could, we're almost going to need a part 2 so that I can ask you about all the operational, like I geek out over some of the things you said about, cost, even for example, like knowing the cost of your goods that you're putting into your product and then how you mark those up and, what's a fair price. But I think we're going to need part 2 for operation. Thank you so much. This was incredible. It's truly such an honor for us to be here with you and just learn from you. You're such a wealth of knowledge. So,
well, thank you for asking me. We really appreciate it. And we want those entrepreneurs to get out there and make a difference.
Most definitely. And as always, thank you to Community First Bank for allowing us to do this. It's so much fun. And we just can't wait to be back with our next guest. So,
Thank you.